question?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. My name is Natalia Ioffe. I live on Center Street. We have a Center Street Block Association. And I just have two questions relating to the residential zone parking that we have applied for over 6 months ago. And we also live in a redevelopment plan of sorts. And I just want to make sure two things, that nothing is being stalled because of this kind of questionable area of a redevelopment plan. And I want to also say that when we just started being active as a block association, we've made a lot of strides. Like, we've had some great parking changes, our councilman helped us, but that was a while ago and nothing's happened since then, and our residents are waiting. And I also noticed that the director of planning, and there used to be a director of traffic and engineering, I remember Andrew Visha. He's here? Okay, great. So we just want to follow up on that because it's been a while, and it's important to us that these changes do happen, because we are in a semi-industrial area, and a lot of our parking spots get overtaken by, well, first of all, because there's no zone there. So anybody can park there forever, you know, including abandoned cars and auto body shops that use it as an extension of their parking lot. So we just want to follow up on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I could speak to what I'm familiar with on that area there. Yes, some of it has stalled because of the back and forth that was in court, not in court. You're familiar with all that, of course. The challenge that the city has, and it became kind of a narrative around eminent domain, which was never what it should have been about, because the only reason that we were looking to move different plans and different properties around there was because the city recognized that there's a requirement for more infrastructure on those streets there. Your area floods horribly, as you're familiar with, almost every rainstorm, and it's significant amount of rain. I mean, significant amount of water. So we're trying to figure out how's the best way to solve the flooding. There's also zoning for that area, predating Jermaine or myself or the planning department, that allows some pretty significant buildings into that area as it is today. And the issue is that some of the developers want to move forward with their development projects without contributing to repairing any of the infrastructure in that area. And the whole conversation around which developer is designated and how that moves forward, it became a conversation publicly around eminent domain, which was never what it should have been. It should have been about who's going to pay for the infrastructure, because some of those developers who were in that conversation and manipulated some of the facts with the residents, their real position when they were communicating with the planning department was, you know what, I just want to build my building and I do not want to put anything into the infrastructure in the area. And that was the really big difference between the area there. So it is stalled right now. I'm not going to say anything other than that, because we're trying to navigate who's going to pay for it. The city isn't going to pay for it, and we need to make sure that they do. They don't want to sign, some of them don't want to sign redeveloper agreements, which mandate a requirement, and that's been some of the holdup there. Did I miss anything, Anisia?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
The shower company that's been replacing sewage lines throughout the city, they've just completed the Center Street section. How does that factor into?
My understanding, I don't know specifics, and I don't want to. We're not going to go into even grab them afterwards. But my understanding on the roads there is that it's more than just putting the sewer lines in. That the roads actually have to be raised. Am I right about that? Actually, right? Pretty significantly. And that's really the crux of it. It's a lot of money. And so when we started designating somebody different than one of the developers that you're familiar with, the conversation, which was probably never shared with you because we weren't part of those conversations, was our conversations with both developers were very simple. They're like, we'll designate both of you. We don't have a preference of who does it, just as long as the infrastructure gets built. That's what's our priorities. If it's your property and you want to build what you're entitled to, great, no problem. But you also have to make sure that you solve some of the problems for the community over there. When we went back and forth, because some of them didn't want to sign it, they went to the neighbors in that area, like yourself, and I think some of the conversation that the city had was manipulated at how they portrayed it to you, because they said to all of you, they said, the city wants to steal my property, the city wants to do eminent domain, the city has a favorite developer that they want to give it to. None of that was true. None whatsoever. Our only stake in the conversation was, we need the infrastructure to be built. Who is going to build it? So the unfortunate reality of this is we're kind of a little bit of a stalemate. We're not going to sign off on somebody to build a building there without a commitment that they're going to build the infrastructure. A commitment to me and to the planning department is not them saying, I will build it. The commitment is sign the redeveloper agreement, because that is a binding contract, and then we will allow you to move forward. If not, we'll find somebody else who will build the infrastructure for the city. That's the way we're looking at it.
Can I add one piece?
Yeah.
Just that where we are right now is we've been having regular meetings with NUA, with engineering, with JCRA, planning, all of us together, sitting around the table, trying to figure out what are the infrastructure needs, what do we need to do to be able to build in that area. Once we figure that out, well, part of that is the cost. You know, what are the costs? How do we do this? Once we figure that out, we're figuring out how to capture the money to do that, whether it's an assessment for the area for these new projects, and then we'll be able to move forward with those projects. So we're all working together to figure that out, and that would need probably a redevelopment plan amendment to quantify that and to put those restrictions right in there, so we would not be able to have one individual development move forward that doesn't fix the infrastructure issue. The only way to fix that flooding is to work comprehensively and make sure any new development in that area pays into that solution.
Last quick question, how can we be a part of that conversation that you're having so that we know how we will affect?
It's a technical conversation about infrastructure.
Yeah, it's not something. So I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but my feeling when I was following that in the media was that some of the residents there that own the houses, not a big number of them, but some of them were manipulated and used as pawns by the developers to further their objective against any sort of redeveloper agreement. And then the media picked up, the Jersey Journal ran stories about eminent domain, which was never the conversation and our objective. Our objective was not selecting one developer versus the other. I don't care. All I care about was getting the infrastructure getting built so that way it doesn't flood anymore. It made no sense to allow a building to go up next to the turnpike. For those of you that are familiar with the area, it's the area right next to the turnpike when you come down the ramp. And it made no sense to allow somebody to build there what they wanted to build without a commitment that they're going to solve some of the infrastructure problems for the area. It would have only made it worse for your house. So our position was just sign the agreement. We'll move forward with either one of you. Just sign the agreement. One of them didn't want to sign it. His position was that I'm entitled to this. I'm going to build this regardless. And the other one said, well, I'll pay the other guy out, whatever the market value is, and I'll build the infrastructure. Okay, that's fine. We had no horse in the race on that. Our goal was moving the area forward. But you can circle back with them afterwards is probably the best thing to do.
What a commitment from the city that will be safe.
There was zero chance that we're looking to eminent domain small homeowners. I mean, that's not our objective. You have a commitment on that. We're not looking to do that. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, one question.